Nobody ever imagined this moment would arrive. Not from a league backed by insane billions, not from an organization people believed had money that would never run dry, and definitely not from a project that ripped the golf world apart so violently it grabbed PGA stars and triggered lawsuits like fireworks exploding. Now we're sitting in a storm of rumors, hushed conversations from insiders, strange financial signals appearing everywhere, and players asking the same nervous question everyone's afraid to voice out loud. Is LIV Golf actually running out of money? Listen up. Are the days of massive upfront payments and bonuses for LIV Golf finished? There's a fresh report that just came out that seems to suggest they are. And more importantly, if they are, what does that actually mean moving forward for the league overall? And did the downfall already begin behind the scenes? If you love the hidden stories and chaos in golf, make sure you subscribe to On the Green channel, and we've got the exclusive details every week. It sounds impossible initially, right? A league with endless funding shouldn't even worry about cash. But that's the story everybody believed when LIV first appeared shining bright. Once you really examine what's happened these past 2 years, the crazy spending, the terrible ratings, those TV deals that never materialized, sponsors running away, players getting frustrated, and that messy merger drama, you start seeing a completely different picture emerging. One that doesn't look anything like unlimited money at all. It starts looking like a sports experiment burning through cash at a terrifying pace, like someone left the engine running with no brakes. And the insane part, the warning signs were there the entire time, hidden inside press releases, buried deep in financial documents, whispered by analysts, laughed about by PGA loyalists, and discussed quietly among LIV players who suddenly realized their future might not be as secure as they were promised. So let's break this entire mess down for real. The insane overspending, the empty seats, the ratings that tanked, the sponsors who fled, the players who started regretting they ever jumped ship, and all the financial red flags that had analysts, journalists, and even LIV partners quietly wondering if the whole league was sliding straight toward a collapse nobody saw coming. Because once you connect the dots, the idea that LIV is in serious trouble doesn't sound crazy at all. It starts sounding obvious.
All right, are the days of big upfront payouts and bonuses for LIV Golf over? There's a new report that just dropped that seems to indicate that they are. And more importantly, if they are, what does that really mean going forward for the league in general?
From day one, the numbers never made sense. A brand new league throwing around cash like it grew on trees, handing out contracts worth $100 million, $150 million, and rumors of bonuses pushing past $300 million paid up front, plus private jets, five-star treatment, and prize money so massive it made the PGA's biggest tournaments look small. People didn't question anything initially. Everyone just shrugged and said Saudi money never ends, but insiders started noticing something wrong. The burn rate was absolutely insane. Billions vanished in under 2 years, events costing way more than they generated. Team budgets exploding overnight, and prize money flying out faster than any sponsor could pump cash back in. Even analysts who originally promoted LIV started raising their eyebrows. One business reporter called it financial chaos disguised as innovation, and another said it looked like the sports version of lighting cash on fire just to see who reacts. And trust me, the golf world noticed. Most leagues expect losses early on. Sure, but LIV wasn't losing a little. It was bleeding money at a rate that felt less like a master plan and more like pure desperation. But if the spending was out of control, the viewership situation was about to become an absolute disaster. If LIV wanted to survive, they needed real viewers. Millions of them, not empty hype. But what they got was the complete opposite. Event after event pulled shockingly low numbers, sometimes dropping under 300,000 nationwide, and some broadcasts didn't even crack the top 150 cable shows of the day. One analyst even joked that the viewership looked like late-night infomercial traffic, and it got even worse. Their big gamble on the CW network, the move that was supposed to change everything, turned into pure embarrassment. Some CW stations refused to air LIV events, others pushed them aside for reruns. A few even replaced them with random local shows because they thought those would get more viewers. And then with no real statement, the whole CW deal just disappeared like it never existed. No extensions, no real explanation, just complete silence. After that, LIV tried to lean on streaming, but fans were fed up with glitchy feeds, missing broadcasts, and events that felt impossible to find, and that team format LIV bragged about, it never caught on. Fans didn't care about standings, didn't follow the captains, the whole concept just refused to click. And without viewers, the business world started taking notice in the worst way possible. Businesses pay for visibility. They want eyes on their brand. Steady coverage, consistent exposure, but LIV wasn't delivering any of that. According to insiders, multiple sponsors walked away the moment they saw those weak ratings numbers, and they didn't even hesitate. Some sponsors didn't want the political controversy tied to the league. Others hated the messy uncertainty around that possible PGA merger, and some just didn't see any real value in the whole setup. Even the sponsors who stayed were getting frustrated with constant format changes and event schedules that shifted every other week. LIV never saw this wave coming. They promised players everything: big money, freedom, guaranteed paydays, lighter travel, shorter seasons, the whole dream package. But reality didn't match the sales pitch at all, and that's when the players themselves started having serious second thoughts. Some players quietly admitted they were frustrated about having 0 world ranking points. Others realized they were losing their exemptions into majors, and a few felt trapped by contracts that stripped away their flexibility to even think about returning to the PGA. Some didn't like the loose structure, and then came the regrets. Rumors started flying that a few big-name players had their agents checking for exit doors. A couple even complained that the league had no real momentum, and others hated being tied to a brand that couldn't build consistent fan support. One LIV insider described it perfectly: everyone was on a high when the money hit. But after that, a lot of guys realized they traded prestige for uncertainty, and that uncertainty only got worse once the merger chaos kicked off. The merger announcement shocked the world. Even LIV players had no clue it was coming. PGA players didn't know either. Nobody did. It dropped with no plan, no details, and zero clarity. Within weeks, US investigations opened. Deadlines got missed over and over, and negotiations were stalling behind closed doors. Trust between the PGA and LIV cracked fast. LIV players worried the deal would crush their leverage. PGA players felt completely betrayed by their own leadership. And analysts said the merger looked like a last-second attempt to stabilize both sides financially. Some insiders said it proved how shaky LIV had become, and every month with zero progress just pushed the rumors even harder. But the real chaos was happening inside LIV itself. When a league is solid, you see unity, structure, and clear messaging. But LIV showed the total opposite. There were sudden executive changes, leaders stepping out, long-term plans that nobody could explain, captains mad about random team changes, players confused about how bonuses worked, events getting moved around the schedule, and mixed signals about the league's whole future. Even the players stopped talking with confidence. Those loud, bold interviews from 2022 turned into soft, careful answers by 2024 and 2025. But all of this drama was just the surface. The real story was buried in the numbers. Behind closed doors, players were asking serious questions. How long is the funding locked in? What happens if the merger falls apart? Are our teams even profitable? Are investors starting to back out? And the answers players got were anything but comforting. But the biggest warning signs weren't spoken in meetings. They were sitting right there in the financial numbers. This is where everything suddenly starts making sense. Industry analysts estimated LIV's yearly losses at over $200 million, and even after cutting costs, some believed the real number was closer to $400 million a year. When you combine that with huge upfront contracts, non-stop travel bills, massive marketing spending, broadcast costs, and expensive event production, insiders started warning that the whole model was impossible to sustain long-term. Then stack on failed attempts for steady US TV deals, weak interest from investors in team valuations, barely any major sponsors, soft ticket sales, and a shrinking global audience. The picture looked rougher than anyone expected. At some point, even so-called unlimited money hits a wall. Multiple analysts said PIF, Saudi Arabia's investment giant, wanted LIV to start standing on its own 2 feet, but that never happened. Not even close. Then the whispers started about delayed or adjusted bonus payouts. Players raising questions, managers digging into contract fine print, agents watching every move like hawks. And that's when the B words started floating around the sport. Bankruptcy, not confirmed, not announced, but whispered everywhere behind closed doors. But this financial pressure was creating an even bigger problem nobody anticipated. There's another angle people don't talk about: the leverage game. LIV used to walk around like the new power player in golf, but now the tables are turning. PGA officials know LIV is vulnerable, and they're using that moment to gain control in merger talks. They want rules, structure, oversight, and a system that stops LIV from operating like a wild card. Meanwhile, LIV wants freedom, power, and equal influence, and both sides are grinding behind closed doors, trying to avoid looking weak. Players caught in the middle are stressed. Some say privately that the merger feels like a tug-of-war nobody signed up for. Others worry their contracts could get reworked, reduced, or reshuffled if LIV loses leverage. Even analysts say this next phase isn't about golf. It's about which side has money, stability, and political pull. And if LIV cracks even a little, the PGA will tighten its grip instantly. This is no longer just a rivalry. It's a full power struggle with billions on the line. And right now, everything is building toward what could be the final breaking point. At the same time, fans are watching this whole situation unfold like a slow-motion car wreck they can't look away from. Some are convinced LIV is about to collapse. Others think the league is just shedding weight before a new era. But the signs are messy: shrinking crowds, inconsistent marketing, quiet executives, and players looking tense in interviews. It's not the loud, confident LIV from 2022. This version feels unsure, defensive, almost cornered. Behind the scenes, insiders say PF is running heavy evaluations, checking team value, audience growth, and long-term profitability. If those numbers don't improve, major changes could drop fast. Maybe a restructure, maybe cutbacks, maybe even teams disappearing. And the wild card: if LIV doesn't stabilize before the merger deadline, the PGA could walk away completely, leaving LIV facing the biggest challenge in its entire lifespan. One wrong move and everything they built could hit a breaking point nobody saw coming. And once fans even sensed it, the theories exploded. Social media went crazy with rumors. Clips of empty seats at events went viral. Analysts highlighted the missing sponsors, and fans started asking whether these teams could even survive another season. PGA supporters started calling it the beginning of the end, while some LIV fans kept saying everything was cool. But a lot of people weren't buying that vibe anymore. A few red flags stood out heavy. Players quietly asking about exit options. Multiple captains dodging questions about the league's future. Zero clarity from leadership about next season. PF executives stepping back from LIV's public messaging, and a clear slowdown in spending that everyone noticed. All those signs pointed to one huge, unavoidable question that's about to shake everything up. Because if LIV can't convince fans, sponsors, networks, and players that this league can actually survive long-term, then it doesn't matter how deep the money looked at the start. Every empire hits a breaking point eventually, and the whispers say LIV might already be skating way too close to its own edge. When you stack all the signs: the wild overspending, the weak ratings, the dropped TV deal, the sponsor drama, the frustrated players, the chaotic merger talks, and those massive financial losses, the idea of LIV crashing doesn't sound wild anymore. It sounds real. Is LIV officially bankrupt? No. There's no filing, no announcement, no confirmed collapse. But is LIV surrounded by warning signs so loud that even loyal fans are getting nervous? Absolutely. The truth is, LIV's future might depend on decisions being made right now in backrooms nobody gets to see. Insiders say the pressure from PF is shifting not to spend more, but to finally show real returns, real stability, real growth. That's a problem because the league hasn't proven it can stand without massive financial support. And inside those offices, people are arguing about what direction to take next. More teams or fewer, bigger events or smaller, global expansion or tightening the belt. Nobody agrees. Players feel that tension too. Some are trying to stay loyal. Others are watching the PGA from a distance like they're thinking about a comeback. And even though nobody wants to admit it out loud, the vibe inside the league has changed. Things feel tighter, riskier, less certain. LIV was built on shock value, but now it needs something harder. Sustainability. And if they can't find that fast, the whole thing could flip overnight into a crisis they can't control. The next few months will be absolutely critical. If those PF evaluations come back negative, if the merger talks completely fall apart, if more sponsors bolt, or if player confidence finally snaps, we could be looking at the beginning of the end. But if LIV finds a way to turn those viewer numbers around, lock in some major TV deals, or somehow make that merger work, they might just pull off the greatest comeback story in sports business history. What we're watching isn't just a league struggling with money, it's a complete experiment in whether unlimited cash can actually buy a place in professional sports. And right now, that experiment is facing its biggest test yet. The leverage game is shifting daily. PGA officials smell blood in the water, and they're tightening their grip on merger negotiations. They know LIV is desperate, and they're using that desperation to dictate terms. Maybe LIV survives this crisis. Maybe they rebuild from the ground up. Maybe the merger gives the league a whole new life and structure. Or maybe this entire project ends up going down as one of the most expensive, dramatic collapses the sports world has ever seen. A cautionary tale about what happens when ambition and unlimited funding clash with the reality of building sustainable entertainment. If you love the untold stories and heavy drama in golf, hit that subscribe button. Golf Mode TV drops the real inside scoop every single week. Either way, one thing is crystal clear: LIV's future isn't guaranteed anymore. The cracks are showing, the pressure is building, and fans all over the world are asking the same question loud and clear. Is LIV truly changing the game forever, or is it burning through cash faster than it can stay alive? The golf world is holding its breath, players are watching their bank accounts, and executives are making calls that could change everything. Only time is going to show us whether this wild story ends with LIV revolutionizing golf forever, or becoming the most expensive lesson about what happens when ambition outpaces reality. But right now, all signs point to a league that's running out of time to prove it can survive.